Hey, welcome, brother.
Great to be here. I'm so excited.
Yeah, man. I been seeing you at the Empowered Brotherhood. No homo. But I've been seeing you. I've been seeing you, and it seemed like you were saying you've been introducing yourself and sharing different things
Yeah.
and getting different reactions. And you said you do high ticket sales.
Yes.
I'm a sales guy myself, and that really sparked the interest. And I knew I had to make a podcast happen.
Yeah, let's do it.
How long you been selling?
Brother, the whole story is incredible. To give you the medium version of the story, I was a broke backpacker in Australia. I left at 19 and I went to Australia with like $3,000 US, and then that blew in like 3 months. And I'm like, oh shit. Either I fly home or I find a freaking way to stay here. And I remember moving into a 12-person, 2-bedroom condo. So this is 2 rooms with 3 bunk beds in each room. So 6 adults in a room this size, like a small room.
Packed like sardines.
Yeah, crazy. And there was cockroaches, and it was about $150 weekly. So about $600 a month for this room times 12. And I was broke, and I'm like, Dad, just fly me home. You know, I messed up my finances. Just fly me home. And he said, no, son, do another week. I think you should do another week. And then if you still feel the same, I'll buy you a flight home. So I'm like, all right, cool. So one of the second days I walk into this house here, I see this like bright light pointing on a table, on the dining room table. And there's this box there, and the box is HelloFresh. And for anyone who doesn't know what HelloFresh is, it's essentially like food delivery. You have the recipe and all the ingredients. And I said, hey, what is that? And my friend said, oh yeah, you know, it's like, you know, you just put the recipe together, you get the ingredients, everything you need. And as a backpacker, I was eating, you know, noodles and tuna and stuff like that. So to have this gourmet meal that has every little diverse, unique ingredient you need,
It's fun.
I'm like, wow, okay, cool. You've tried it?
Yeah, those recipes are just perfectly packaged.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. And I'm like, wow, that's great. Food, everyone needs food. You know, and it's cool. You get the variety, you get the exact ingredients, so it's good for the environment. So like I was sold on it the moment I heard about it. And then the guy came home and he said, yeah, we're actually hiring salespeople, so commission only salespeople for this company. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, what is it, like door to door? Do I call people? And he said, no, it's event sales. And I said, what's that? He's like, well, you do temp leases in shopping centers. So the biggest shopping centers, you have a temporary 1-month lease or a 1-week lease, and you sell it. Like old school style, like, hey, how you doing? Like, are you friendly? You know, and we would like stop people in shopping centers. And as a kid, I'm like, yeah, whatever, cool. So I went in, I saw people making $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a month here. And I said, okay, well, if they can do it, I can do it too. I just need to learn what I don't know and make it happen. And so 6 weeks, I was the worst salesperson of all time. Nobody believed in me. I was a shy kid, 19, very conservative. And then eventually in the 6th week of just really giving myself the space and time to learn the art of selling and the skills, reading the body language, the tone, the eyes, the foot position. Like I really wanted to master everything. And on the 6th week, I ended up making about $1,000 in a day as a 19-year-old.
Nice.
So I'm like, $1,000 in a day. And I was only there for 7 hours. I'm like, that's a lot of money. It's like more than my parents. And I remember telling my parents this, and they were like shocked. They were absolutely shocked. And so that was kind of my entryway into sales. Eventually did that for 2.5 years, but not only in shopping centers. I eventually opened up an office, so started to train people, hire people, and help others achieve like financial freedom and the ability to be able to persuade someone into buying something that's ultimately right for them and that will help them out. So that's the short story.
That was in Australia?
Yes.
Whoa.
Yeah.
With those thick accents, huh?
Oh yeah, mate. You're so good, eh? Yeah, not bad.
Hey, you don't have a Canadian accent. They say toast, or
Ooh,
the
house.
O is a little different, right?
House,
House,
out, sorry, roof. It's a bit like ooh, you know.
Yeah. LeBlanc has that come out. Christian LeBlanc has his Canadian come out sometimes.
Yeah, he's definitely more Canadian than me. I don't know how, because he also left at a young age, but I left at 19, so my accent kind of shifted a little bit. I used to have an Australian accent actually.
Those Canadians, man, they have a lot of creators that I follow, like Peter McKinnon.
Yeah, he's a strong accent.
He does.
Yeah.
I really actually do want to go visit Canada. Like some of that nature just looks incredible. Just
Yes, specifically Western Canada is the spot. I was born and raised in Winnipeg. So Winnipeg is it's flat for 12 hours drive west, flat for like, long time east. So it's very boring, very cold, top 5 coldest cities in the world. People there aren't so happy because the winters are really intense. So yeah.
They do say that the further north you go on from the equator, like in places like London or just up there, the colder places are less expressive with their body, a bit more reserved.
Yeah.
And then you get more to the tropics, kind of like Jamaica or, places just around the equator, and big old hugs, big time family, like just more expressive with the hands and movements.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true.
I honestly think it comes down, I like to simplify things. I think it comes down to the amount of sunlight a human gets has a direct impact on how happy they are. So.
That's so true. When COVID was going around, I was listening to the alternative voices about fresh air and vitamin D from the sun. So when I caught COVID, I think I've had COVID like 6 times. So
okay,
I need to figure what
if it exists
there. If it exists.
So there's no rabbit holes on this one. It's only episode 1.
Then I said, babe, let's go to the park. I just need to lay out there. This is giving me my medicine. I just need to lay out there and just receive it.
Yeah.
But yeah, sunlight's huge. I think a lot of people just, especially if you're working from home, you just don't get sun. You just stay inside all the time. A lot of the culture in the West is kind of packed up like sardines, and there's just a lot of not of good health practices going around in general that we've been waking up to as a society.
Yeah.
Saw this one documentary. It was called Surviving Progress.
Okay.
Because we've built a concrete jungle that's kind of not too natural for us.
No. Nothing natural about it. There's nothing natural, like with all the EMFs, like all these foreign frequencies that we're not used to. This is all new to us. It's all new to our system. And these aren't frequencies to just play around with, like EMFs and microwaves and all these 5Gs and having our phone and radiation. Like, it's not, our bodies aren't used to it, and we haven't lived long enough to figure out what are the side effects of this. And so some people think I'm crazy for like grounding to the earth, because when you put your bare feet on the earth, it literally changes your biology. It changes the energy in your body, and the earth can absorb that. And it's not woo-woo hippie stuff. It's literally, it's science. It's proven stuff. And so we're around, especially in apartments like this, I feel that. I feel that deeply. And I've done a lot of fasting. I've done a lot of work with my body where I have that connection. And I know if something's off energetically. And I know that I eat pretty much the same thing. So I know if something's off, I can be like, that's it. Because I'm not changing anything in my diet. I'm not eating fried foods and inflammatory seed oils and all this crazy stuff like that. So
I love that. When you do get that tuned into your health and your vibration and how you feel, you notice the differences, and you notice exactly what changed. Eating the same foods is actually pretty simple, affordable, healthy, predictable, and you feel awesome.
Yeah.
Ever since we started cooking and eating at home, it's a simple, I don't know what kind of diets you follow, but right now we're just doing a clean grass-fed meat, a lot of wild-caught salmon, some potatoes or some rice, take some vitamins. I eat a smoothie usually almost every morning. If not, I'll just do some of those expensive but awesome pasture-raised eggs.
Love it.
And
it's the only way to eat eggs, man.
Exactly.
It's just the truth.
Have you seen those memes of the chickens having Louis Vuitton bags, and because the price of eggs have gone up? It's like
that's hilarious. I haven't seen that.
Yes, it's funny, man. Eggs are really a superfood, but there's a lot of superfoods out there. And ultimately, if you're looking to improve your performance, your sales, your relationships, really anything, it starts with how you feel. It starts with your health.
Totally.
What do you do for your health?
It's a loaded question, but for me, it's about the fundamentals. I start myself with the fundamentals, but anyone that's just getting into health, there's no reason to go fancy and buying all these crazy expensive supplements and, whether that's coated colloidal silver or glutathione in a liposomal form. And, you don't need to do all that stuff. That comes later. If there's no point of doing that stuff if you don't have the fundamentals. So what are the fundamentals? Spring water. What do horses drink? They go to the cleanest water source. They go to the spring water. If you go to a spring, and you can go and find a spring.com, and you find it and you drink the water, you feel the energy, you feel the frequency difference versus you're drinking, dead filtered water or waters with plastics that have leached into it. microplastics from being in the heat during transport, right? And so one of the bare fundamentals is find your local spring, get it delivered to your door in glass is better, but start with spring water. It's rich in minerals. We need minerals to function. We're built upon the same things as nature. And so we need these minerals just on a basic level. So spring water is a fundamental. So when I wake up, I focus on hydration. Next is mineralization. The most complete mineral compound that I've found is shilajit. Or shilajit, however you want to say it. And that's essentially fulvic acids, and it has the most broad spectrum of minerals possible. So I'll either put that in warm water. I do drink coffee, not like 7 cups a day. I take periods off, but I'll add shilajit into my coffee, because coffee does, in a sense, it does strip some things off of you. And you want to replenish that. So when I wake up, I think hydration, spring water. Second, I think shilajit, and then mineralization. And then after that, you can start to focus on the vitamins and all of that. But really, you want to get the foundations, the hydration, the mineralization, and then from there, you can start to play. And most people just are out of tune with their breath. Most people are breathing way too shallow, way too deep. Their mouth breathing, which changes the structure of their face. You can look up a book called Breathe by, I forget the name. Do you know the
I haven't heard of that one.
It's an epic book. It shows, there's been studies that someone blocked their nose and someone didn't block their nose. And they show that it changes your facial structure. So yeah, it's incredible. But those are just some of the basics.
I love what you're saying about the minerals. For you to think of your food as food is actually not the case. These are food-like products that have been stripped from their minerals because we have these monocultures, right? The fruit or the vegetable or the meat has a process of how it got there. Essentially, the common denominator is it goes back to the soil. If that soil doesn't have a nutrient-rich profile, then minerals. Get your minerals. Find it in the food that is usually farm-raised, pasture-raised, wild-caught. But do you eat any meat? I think I might have saw something that you're mainly plant-based.
Yeah, I'm gonna bookmark that question and just finalize the thought loop in my head. We have to go deeper than just talking about calories, because calories are just a measure of energy, and it by no means is measuring the quality of the energy that you're receiving or the nutrients that you're receiving. So what does this mean on a practical level? Counting your macros is great, but that's a very surface level bodybuilding approach. If that works for you, beautiful. I think it creates restriction, which therefore will create binge eating at some point. It's a binging and restricting cycle, and I've worked a lot with people with binge eating issues, and also myself, I've experienced it, so I can understand it on an experiential level. But we have to look at the labels. We have to look at the ingredients. We have to realize, what is calcium carbonate in all of the oat milks that people are drinking. Like, what is calcium carbonate? It's essentially a man-made chalk, and that we do not need in our body. And there's all these gums in these milks that we're drinking. And then people are like, well, I'm lactose intolerant. But you have to ask why. Like, you got to go deeper. Why do people drink ultra pasteurized milk, which is just destroying the digestive enzymes, and therefore you're lactose intolerant because you're drinking super high heated milk that's destroying the fundamentals of what you need to digest it? It's not like when we're breastfed, we heat it up to super high temperatures and then drink it. It doesn't happen. They only do that for a longer shelf life. So we have to become our own investigators. We can't just rely on, oh, here's milk, A2, vitamin D, It's like, no. And then people think raw milk is crazy. Why would someone be called crazy for drinking breast milk as a kid? Like, you're crazy, you're breastfeeding your child. Like, no. But we drink, I mean, if you even drink milk, that is. But I think eggs and raw milk are definitely beneficial to humans. I don't think it's necessary for all. If you don't like milk, like, that's fine. But my point being is, we can't just be like, oh, no sugar, oh, carbohydrate. Like, we have to go deeper than that, especially if you're having health issues, if you have inflammation, eczema, issues sleeping, pains in your body. You got to start asking questions, and you got to become your own healer and your own investigator and your own doctor, essentially.
The most eye-opening approach that I did to begin that process was something called the Whole30, and it was an elimination diet. Are you familiar with that?
I've heard of it, yeah.
So a lot of the problematic foods out there have all kinds of artificial sweeteners and sugars. So that's one of the first things you cut out, is if it has anything artificial in there, you can't eat it. So it was a lot of plant-based, a lot of simple recipes. And those were very challenging because I had a fast food addiction. I had such a bad relationship with food and eating I would have tons of inflammation in my back, and I found that was because of a lot of the terrible things I was eating.
Your lower back?
Mm-hmm.
So like kidneys, adrenals. Yeah.
When I did that cleansing 30-day challenge, I was so proud of myself that I did it, but I learned so much about health.
Yeah.
And you don't know how good you can feel unless you take some of these steps. You have to refuse to settle for a mediocre, yawning, half asleep existence. You have to build the dream of what you really want to have, which is vitality. And then you also have to feed into the nightmare, and enough is enough. Some Tony Robbins stuff, right?
Yeah.
Look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm fat. Be honest with yourself. And take some actions, like he was saying. Pay attention to what you're eating. And that'll go a long way, because when you feel good, that's one of the fundamental teachings that I heard from this one guy named Kevin Trudeau. He had this teaching called, your wish is your command.
Not Justin Trudeau.
Not Justin Trudeau. Same last name.
Same last.
He's in the most beloved Canadian, right? So he said the goal for law of attraction is, one of the goals is, how good can I feel right now? And how can I feel even better? It's always aiming towards how good can you feel, because when you are vibrating at such a high frequency, things just start coming to you. You don't have to pursue success. It's just going to just start coming to you. And hopefully that helps, that you don't really want to grind to the stone and burn out. It's much better to do it effortlessly. Have it come to you. Whatever that it is. A lot of people don't define what they really want in life.
Yeah.
One thing that I know we share in common is world travel. And I could talk about that all day. Because we were saying it in the car ride over here, that following what's most exciting to you is a really good compass. Big caveat with that, we're not talking about cocaine and partying and feeling good in that kind of way. But what kind of compass, feeling good, excitement journey has guided you? And how did you differentiate?
Yeah. I like to think of our excitement as, let's say, our higher mind speaking to us. I don't want to get too woo-woo and esoteric, but there's something about the energy of excitement, and by no means do I mean like, anything unhealthy. If you're listening to this, you probably are interested in or you're not into that stuff. But what I mean is you meet someone and you just feel like, I'm excited to, like doing this podcast. And it doesn't have to be a wild excitement. It could be like, okay, I need water. That seems exciting. I'm thirsty. I want some spring water. I want to go for a walk. Like, it can be micro amounts of excitement, or it can be like full body, fuck yes, I want to do this podcast with this person. Something about this. Your body is responding, and it's important to listen to these gut responses, because the gut-brain connection is very, very important to have. And a lot of people are disconnected from their gut, just overeating, over-consuming, and they don't have that ability to tune into their body, and if it's a fuck yes for them, or if it's a no, or if there's contraction around an opportunity or a partner or a date or whatever it may be. So from a young age, it didn't make sense to a lot of people, but I followed my highest excitement, and this started at 19. It even started earlier than that, in high school. I enjoyed music a lot. I really enjoyed music, and so I would go on a Thursday night, I would take my brother's fake ID, and I would go to the club. And I wouldn't drink. I'd rather go to raves, and I would go to these raves with DJs, and like that was my excitement, and that opened my heart. It opened my expression. It opened the dancing for me, because I was, I'm sitting in high school under fluorescent lights at 7:30 in the morning, yawning my ass off, learning about shit I don't want to learn about, stuff that doesn't excite me. Like, why as a kid should we be able to sit in this desk, not working with our hands, and be studying shit that we don't like? So from a young age, at 19, I said, you know what, I'm going to do whatever I want for the next 5 to 10 years. In my 20s, I'm committing myself to doing what I want and taking high risk. And worst case scenario, I can go to university, I can get a job, it'll always be there for me. And so what was my highest excitement at 19? Or specifically turning 18, I wanted to become the best bartender in the world. I wanted to party, sober, and make money. That was me following my excitement at 18. At 19, it was taking that money, booking a one-way flight to Australia, buying my favorite backpacking bag. And then again, I just followed the breadcrumbs from the universe or whatever you believe in, but I followed the breadcrumbs of excitement more importantly. And then I would meet this person, and then I would get this sales job, and then I would get this invitation. And just being aware of following your excitement and what the universe, God, life presents for you. Because there's when we live in these elevated states of being, again, whatever you believe in, universe, nothing, it doesn't matter. This happens to people. When you live in these elevated states of being, there will be opportunities placed in your path that you can respond to, and this will lead you to where you want to go. And so it was just commitment to myself and trusting my own intuition, my own feeling of truth in the body, regardless of what my family thought, my brother, my friends. People thought I was crazy until I started making, more money than them, which was their view of success. But my view of success was fulfillment, was connection, was meeting new people, was learning new things. But I was raised where money equals success, not fulfillment and growth and contribution and human connection. So, and I'm 26 years old now. I feel like I've lived so much life already, and it just continues to grow and grow and grow. And the question that I ask myself is, life, show me how this can get even better. Like, show me how even like more magical, more mystical, more joy life can lead me to. And so that's where I'm at now, man. Just really following that from a more grounded place now, where I understand, like we were sharing in the car today, and I think a lot of you will resonate with this, and you may have heard forms of this before, but it's living as if you're going to die in 10 days from now, and balancing that as if you're going to die in 100 years from now. So living in that beautiful balance. And so now I'm living this hybrid lifestyle where I'm setting up the foundations to live another 100, 150 years, who knows? But I also live with the energy of I'm going to die in 10 days. And that's the word balance gets thrown around, but that's really the art that the art of living, I would say, that balance there that I'm trying to master at the moment.
That's beautiful. So many tangents we can go into. My initial thought that I just got was, when you find your partner, that might take you to the highest levels. But then they also say too, when you have kids, you'll 10x that and go to the highest highs and lowest lows. But until we get to that point, you do have to create a badass life.
Yeah.
So many people find a relationship with codependency, just lack, and they find someone else who's the vibrational match, and then they tear each other apart, and that ends up being a toxic relationship. But following that excitement is something that in my heart I had too. And every guy, really, every person has that dream inside them. And I do resonate and vibe the most with the ones that are still in them and chase it and do it. Because I love what Garen says, we're all just degenerated children. Think about it.
It can be that simple.
Think about it. What is different? Yeah, we look different, we have more experiences, but we were once that child, and everybody still has that inner child, and it doesn't matter how old someone looks too, I can still see that child in them and still see the child in myself. And there's a lot of clues there. What did you used to love when you were a kid? What did you used to dream of? And for me, it was always traveling. I watched History Channel growing up, thanks to my stepdad, and he would just play it on TV, and I would see things about the pyramids, and I would just be captivated. And then the movie The Mummy comes out, and I see these like golden rooms and exotic painting and the way they dressed and all these kind of things, and I was just fascinated, like, what kind of culture is this? So we talked a little bit too of how I got into my nomadic year, and it was amazing. Tim Ferriss calls it a mini retirement. Rather than chasing the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, I have this coworker, his name's, I'm actually not going to mention his name, but he's one of the top salespeople at our dealership, and he's 50 something, has made a lot of money, has traveled, and has lived a pretty great life, I'm sure. But he said that I'm going to do this for about 7 more years, and then he's going to travel the world non-stop, he said. Like, why wait 7 years?
Yeah.
Your body does degenerate over time, and walking 10,000 steps around to see the sights, it's a little bit easier when you're younger. Now, I love that what you're saying too about keeping an eye on the future, but enjoying the urgency of right now and the presence of right now, which I think could be accomplished and solved by having just a good financial strategy of investing, saving for the long term, having different buckets there, knowing that you're going to be taken care of because of how you structure the money there. But how are you navigating the long term? What does that look like? What is that hybrid model look like?
Yeah, so there's a few different things come to mind, and I want to share this before I dive into that, but there's different forms of this, and one is like 1 foot in gratitude, 1 foot is I want more, I do desire more, a healthy sense of desire. Like I'm grateful for what I have, but like there's more. You know, 1 eye on the present, 1 eye on the future. It's similar to what I was sharing earlier. So obviously I'm 26, so I'm in a position where I can take high risks and I can recover, you know, but I know I have a solid foundation of skill set, of energy, and I know that my health is never gonna leave me. You know, that's my number 1 value in life is health, vitality. Second being love, warmth, connection, depth. And third being growth and contribution. So like I have these values set. And so to answer your like more so plan, you know, financial plan and all of that. So there's many ways to go with this, but I think that the 3 basic steps to I'm just trying to like think of how I can word this to support whoever's watching it. But number 1, clear your debt. Number 2, have an emergency fund so that maybe you can, if you lose your job, you have a 3 to 6 to 9 month to 12 month emergency fund, and you can go do what you really love. So, you know, those are kind of like the 3 first steps of setting yourself up, especially the emergency fund, because the vast majority of people are in debt. That's just the truth, right? Yeah. So clear that, so you're not paying interest for your whole life, and get this emergency fund, you know, going so that your nervous system can relax as well. Because people think there's secure income, right? It's like you can be fired any day. And you know, like nothing in this world is going to be here forever. Nothing in nature is consistent. I'm sorry, stagnant. Nothing in nature is stagnant. It's always moving, always shifting. Same with our body. We run on cycles, rhythms, circadian rhythm, and so on. So my plan is really. Are you asking more so like in regards to finances, or just my general vision of? Yeah,
your general vision. Like, what is that hybrid, you know, long term and short term look like?
I want to have a family, a big one. 3 to 10 kids, calling it in. I'll watch this podcast back when I'm like 70 and be like, okay, all right. But yeah, I definitely want, my long-term vision is owning land and living in community. I don't just want to go off and live remotely in mountains and be like a monk. Like I've lived in different forms than this. I've done that before, and it's not for me. So I want a family. I want to live with community. I want to have something that I'm contributing my skill set, my unique zone of genius through the day, so I feel fulfilled. As a man, I'll speak from my own perspective, when we go out there, when we hunt and when we create and when we build, we feel happy at the end of the day. We can sleep good. We've exhausted our body. We've exhausted our mental capacity. We can sleep at night be like, fuck yeah, that was a full day lived, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's ultimately like how I want to feel, and come back in the evening, have a big feast with community, celebrate, dance, play instruments. There's kids laughing, playing games, and then getting a good night's rest, going to bed at like 10 p.m., waking up 6 a.m. the next day, going at it again. I see myself working with the land and all of that, but on a financial level, I know there's steps to get there. And if you think of compounding, you know, if you double 1 cent, 1 cent, 2 cents, 4 cents, 8, 16, 32, if you double that, let's say 9 times, it may not be so substantial, but once you get to like timesing that by 18, it's going to be in the, you know, close to like deep 5 figures, maybe 60, 70,000. If you double a cent 18 times, right? So my focus now is going through this curve so that I can compound and start to just really compound my investments, my growth, everything. And there's a quote in the Bible, I don't know exactly how it goes, I'm paraphrasing, but essentially it's saying that those who have will be given more, and those who don't will be deprived of everything they even have. And it doesn't make sense, but this is how abundance works. If you focus on what you have in your life, God, the universe, life will give you more. And it may not seem fair, but if you focus on lack, if you focus on scarcity, that's what you're going to be given more of. And so I think that's very important to again, have 1 foot in gratitude, have 1 foot in I want more. Because if we're just stuck in I want more the whole time, it's focusing on lack and what we don't have. And it's not a good energy to be in, even on a nervous system level. So that's kind of my general vision. I really want to get money freedom. Right now I have time freedom. I can live very simply. I'm financially, like I can live wherever I want, but now I really want money freedom, like doing as many like events, memberships, going wherever I want, buying stuff for my family, having my kids just raised in abundance and not seeing the scarcity like I was raised in. So ultimately it's preparing to become a father. That's like, you know, a big thing for me, but also laying down the foundations and the frameworks and the structure to be able to provide for my family later on, and have that mission of waking up and like I'm doing something in a team. I don't want to be a lone wolf. I've been a lone wolf long enough. I've experienced making a lot of money on my own. It's not as fulfilling as people may think. So I want to make a lot of money. I want to change a lot of lives, and that's the basics, brother.
That's beautiful. Love it. I share the same vision too. Having your own land, being part of a community, that's huge. That's something that this one movie captured it pretty nicely. It was really awesome. Have you seen it, called Captain Fantastic?
Is it a cartoon or something?
It sounds like a cartoon movie, Captain Fantastic, but I recommend anybody watching it. They had a scene at the beginning. It's a big family. I don't know, like 5 or 6 kids.
Yeah.
And just a single dad. Fortunately, the mom, it tells you right away, the mom just really is not in the picture because of health. But they live out in the woods and nature, and at the end of the day they have a fire there, like a bonfire, and they finish dinner and they're kind of just sharing stories and talking in the community. And then someone just starts picking up the guitar and just starts playing, and then other people are starting to feel that spirit of the music, and everybody has their own instruments, and they're just harmonizing and creating such a really cool musical environment. And it was pretty interesting that one of the younger kids completely changed up the beat. He kind of had like a chip on his shoulder, was a little angry at something, changed up the beat completely, and the father sits back and looks at him like, this guy's totally changing the vibe of this music. But he goes with it, and then everybody goes with it, and then it's just as amazing. It was just really cool what you could do with community and sound. But I wanted to share that. But
yeah,
as far as preparing yourself for family, I had a coming of age moment. We were in Tulum, beautiful place. I know you've been there several times. It's an awesome spiritual place. The food's delicious, and then it's kind of like a little Bali because they have a lot of like those acai bowl places, and
you just gotta have 6 times the budget. But yeah, it's definitely similar, but it's hella busy right now at the moment. But yeah,
it is. Yeah, you're right about the budget part too. In fact, side story in Tulum in Mexico, I realized how they can scam you on bills. You might give them a 500 peso bill, but they'll say you only give me a 50. You're still missing something. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, they're good at that. Sleight of hand.
Sleight of hand.
Yeah.
Okay, but Tulum is a beautiful spiritual place, and I was doing some plant medicine, and might be too much information, might not, but I was in the shower with my wife, and just the passion's there, and I got like struck by a bolt of lightning or something, thinking, I'm ready to have kids. Like, this will lead to kids if I
choose. Right?
If I choose.
Yeah.
Because before, I never really thought of that. We never really talked about when we were going to have kids. We would just make love when we wanted to make love. But now I was ready.
How long ago was it?
That was about 1.5 years ago. Here in like 7 months ago. And I was just in tears. I was like, afterwards, like, you know, I'm going to choose not to right now because I want to build the vision that I have to raise these kids. And I was in tears because then it hit me. I'm like, this is that saying in the Bible saying that you were beautifully made. Every detail was put together, right? Your entire body, like, just figuratively speaking, spiritually, imagine God like piecing together a perfect human creation.
Yeah.
That's how much love I was feeling towards future kids that weren't even born yet. That much love, that much consciousness, that much preparation to bring new life into this world.
Yeah.
Thank God I've married the right partner. That's what a lot of guys are missing nowadays, is not knowing how to choose their partner, not knowing how to choose the woman. Of course, we have that reptilian or that monkey brain that says like, ooh, she's so hot, she's a 10, stuff like that. Now, of course, women are beautiful, and that's a blessing to the world. But I actually did this community called Real Social Dynamics. It was like a pickup artist community
I was
kind
in
of
that.
thing? You were?
Yeah, when I was young. That's what got me into sales, actually.
Okay.
Because I didn't resonate so much with the pickup side of things, but I resonated with the ability to influence someone. That's how I got into coaching. But yeah, that's another tangent.
Okay,
I want to stay on your flow, so yeah.
So I agree with you too. You know, this book called The Game talked about the evolution of the tactics and manipulation, which is one dark side of the pickup artist community. But the lighter side was they were just trying to tell you to become the best version of yourself. Build a badass life that a woman would want to be a part of.
Yeah.
Learn how to be an alpha male yourself. And so I was following that advice, and they also teach you to have abundance with women. You know, I was a big time nerd, always talking about books. I went on this date and it was just terrible. I could only talk about books and nerdy stuff. Like, only talk about personal development, and it was the worst date ever. And I'm like, I need some help with this. So I'm learning from them, went to their seminars and stuff.
Cool.
And so I developed abundance with women. And when I said, you know, I'm living the badass life that I created, and I have abundance with women, and I said, I'm not going to get married till I'm 30. I'm not going to find the life partner till I'm 30. I was 22 or 21 at that time. But I encourage you to have abundance with women and build a badass life, because when you least expect it, or you least don't think it's going to happen, but when you meet your vibrational match, it's like every other woman is in shallow water, and when you meet the Mariana Trench with oceanic depth, you know it's there. You know this is the one. That saying goes, when you know is true, because when the man is ready, your queen comes. And you won't really be a king till you have your queen. If you adopt to that, you know, heterosexual, you know, masculine, feminine dynamic, then the real development of myself began. I was explaining to you earlier that my wife Violet has not only helped me heal spiritually, mentally, emotionally, in so many ways, but it's so vital to the man's energy. I'll give you an example. We will go off and conquer and hunt and build businesses and do so many different things, which is one side of life, right? It's the doing. But the feminine energy is, while we love it, it's so beautiful. It's that dance of the two energies. They'll teach you how to smell the roses. They'll teach you how to slow down.
Make a house a home.
They'll make a house a home. They will teach you what cuddling really looks like. You will feel so safe and so yourself with the right partner that you will just love who you are with them. Mm-hmm. You can be your truest childlike self with them, and it's just a beautiful thing. It's so enriching, so fulfilling, and it's a big foundation of who I am. So babe, if you're watching, bonus points
Shout out to Violet, yeah.
and so yeah, that's my tangent there on finding your queen and finding the right woman. You don't want to just base it off of looks, because looks fade. We all will get old and wrinkly. At the end of the day, what kind of character do they have? What kind of integrity? How do they love you? How present are they? Do they fight for you? Do they want to be with you?
Yeah, I've been to Joe Dispenza's advanced retreat in Mexico.
Way.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's something I want to go to as well. We've read his books, and we do his free meditation on YouTube. It's like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I know it's nothing.
I'll send you them, man. I have all of them.
Oh, yes. That's... Yeah, meditating is huge. Maybe we can go into that a bit later too. Sure. But I know that you're a high-ticket sales entrepreneur.
Yeah, I mean, I'm many things.
You've been a part of some teams.
Yeah.
I'm a big Robbins fan as well. He was actually one of the first people that got me into knowing myself. I think I was seeing on your Instagram that you had like just over a little bit over 10 grand, but that's how much the program cost.
Yeah.
And you had to dive right in. And
yeah.
What was that program, or what was that all about?
Great question. So this piggybacks off of my Australia story. Okay. Perfectly, because so I was broke, mastered sales, commission only, ended up making, you know, 4, 5, 6, 7, eventually upwards of like $15,000 months in sales.
Wow.
But I still had a scarcity mindset, because you cannot be broke in your bank account, but you can have a broke mindset. So I still had a broke mindset, but my bank account was okay at the time. Well, for at least that age, in my opinion. And it was my 20th birthday was coming up, and I was super pumped. I was making money. I was actually, just to add the full context of the story here so you really get like where I'm coming from. So in that sales job, I wanted to be the fucking best. I wanted to be the absolute best. And so I went to the best guy in the office making the most money, and I said, yo, I want to live with you. And he's like, what? And he was Italian. He's like, what do you mean, bello? No, the fuck? And I said, hey, it'll just be for, I told him 3 days, because I was transitioning out of that cockroach 12 share 2-bedroom apartment. And I was like, hey, I'm making money now. I think I can get out of this place. So I told him I needed a place to transition. And so he's like, yeah, no worries. We don't have an extra room, but you can sleep on the floor. And I'm like, honestly, I don't give a fuck. I'm waking up at 5 a.m. every day. And, you know, I'm out of the house by like 6:30. I get home at like 7, 8, 9, 10 p.m. sometimes. I don't care if I sleep on the floor. It's better for your back anyway, in some respects. So did that. And yeah, eventually he introduced me to Tony Robbins. So my 20th birthday was coming up, and he said, bello, you got to go, Tony Robbins, change your life. Life will never be the same, bello. And I said, I can't afford it. It's $1,400, you know. But I was making, you know, that in a week, you know, sometimes less. And so this is a very powerful story and you'll see why. And then I invited my friends over for my birthday party, turning 20, and we had a barbecue at my apartment, the one that I was sleeping on the floor. And I told my best friend Eric Bergen from Norway, and he's like, are you going to come to Tony Robbins? It's Unleash the Power Within. It's in Sydney. It's this weekend. So this was like Tuesday, and it started on Thursday. I said, no, man, I can't really afford it. But at this point, I had about 10 grand in my bank account. And so I said, I couldn't afford it. It's too much money, $1,400. And he's like, bro, look at me. And I looked at him, and he said, I will pay for half of your ticket if you transfer me $700 right now. And I was like, what? And at this point, I was a narcissist. I was quite selfish, just trying to, you know, do my own thing. And I'm like, why would someone, that's a lot of, at that time, it's a lot of money. Like $700 is here you go. And I said, at that time, I'm like, all right, sure. So I pulled out my bank, went on my little Westpac Australia app, transferred him $700. He's like, beautiful. I'm so proud of you, acknowledging you for your celebration here, or for your action. And he says, I have another surprise for you. I'm like, who are you, you Norwegian man, giving me this? I'm like, and at this point, I didn't understand the fulfillment in giving. I didn't understand that also filled him up. And then we get to the event 2 days later. He's like, are you ready for your, we're in line. You know, there's like 8,000 people there in Sydney. We get in line, and he said, are you ready for the other surprise? And I'm like, brother, I don't know what other surprises you can give me. You already gave me $700 for my birthday. And then he goes into his pocket, and I'm like, no, is he going to take, what's he going to do? So he goes in his pocket, opens his wallet, gives me $700 Australian cash, and says, I just wanted to know that you trusted yourself and that you took fast action. And he gave me the money back, and he bought me my whole first seminar ticket.
Wow.
Into the Tony Robbins world. And I was like, what? Is this a cult? Like, what am I, drink the Kool-Aid? Am I going to die? What's going on here? So I'm going to this event for free. I go to it, blowing my mind. It's literally, and not to hype him up, this is just my experience. The first night we're like walking on fire, just breaking all these barriers. I'm experiencing depths. I'm just opening my entire world up. I'm connecting to my power, to my heart, to everything, to just breaking beliefs, discovering my limiting beliefs, like becoming aware of the parts of myself that I didn't know. You know, our blind spots, all this programming just started to be put on the screen in front of me. And on the third day, they introduced, you know, the big package, Master University, Tony Robbins. And of course, you know, they're selling, and it's fine. I was aware of it. It's $10,000. It's Life Mastery Seminar, Wealth Mastery Seminar. It's Date with Destiny in Florida, the 6-day-long seminar. It's on Netflix. I Am Not Your Guru. They document it. Yeah. And it's also another UPW ticket that you can give away. It's coaching. It's like, you know, the whole stack of Tony Robbins. And it's $10,000. And I'm like, that's a good investment. I'm like, that is a quality investment. I'm like, am I going to buy a 10 grand car or invest in this that's going to last me for life? So I continued sleeping on the floor, and I made a promise to myself. And I continued sleeping on that floor, and I invested that money, and I was paying like $75 a week in rent. My friend was like, it's fine, you're sleeping on the floor, just pay me whatever. And so I'm paying $75 in rent. I'm like, I'm making 2, 3, 4, 5 grand a week. I'm like, I can pay this back, no worries. So then I shifted from a broke mindset to an abundance mindset, that money's circulating. And so I slept on the decision. So it wasn't just like I was a zombie, like I went to pay for it. So I slept on the decision, came back, still had the same excitement, which bounces off of earlier. I had the same excitement, I had the same truth. And I checked my bank, and I had $10,095 in my bank account. And this was a 10 grand in full package, no payment plans. So I'm calling my mom. Mom, can you give me like $1 grand or $2 grand just to tie me over? Hey, Connor, my brother. Hey, Dad, can you give me? They're all like, what are you doing? That's not education. That's stupid. You're in a cult, all this stuff. But I knew in my heart it was truth. I knew I needed to do this, and I trusted myself. Boom, 10 grand. I walk up, 10 grand, check my bank, $95 left over to my name in a 15,000 kilometers away from my home, 8,000 miles, whatever. And I was so excited, so fired up. I ended up making that money back in about 3 weeks or so. And it just changed. It completely transformed my life. I went to his seminar in Tenerife in Spain, the island off of Spain. I went to Date with Destiny, the six day long event. Wow. Where many people who are just like suicidal, they're just at the end of their life. They're like, I've just heard that you help people, like help me. And so I really went all in on that. And this was my form of university. Like this was my education. And so I learned just everything about being a human. Not everything. I'm not forever a student, but I learned like the bare fundamentals, belief systems, value systems. What is my identity? Who is this video game character? And why is he this man? And how can I make edits to his attributes, his super skills? And so finishing up the story, that was in September in 2016. And then I went to Date with Destiny in May 2017. So it was a 6-day long event, like 10, 12, 14, 16-hour days, like really going to the depths of this human experience. It's hard to explain into words, but I'll just leave it at that. And then they were offering leadership mastery. So I'm like, what is this? So I kind of figured out the health aspect. I was feeling so good. Like I was meditating. I was in tune with my emotions. If I fell out of touch with my heart, I knew how to get back. Like I knew all these skills. But I wanted to be able to influence others and lead others, because leadership is the ability to influence someone. You either influence them in a negative way, manipulation, or you influence them in a positive way, leadership. And I wanted to be able to lead. And so I go back there, and at this point I had about $9 grand in my bank account. And this was about a $5,000 package, his leadership package. And I said, this makes sense. I want to learn this skill. I want to learn how to influence people to do the things that are going to equal them living in their highest life, their highest experience, highest potential. So again, I did that, painful, the whole thing, made it back. And then that was developing the trust and belief in myself, was my ability to invest, circulate the money, and also receive in return. And so so since then, 2016, 17, I've gone in, I've done the trainings, I've gone back to these events, I've served, I've coached, I've co-led teams there, I've helped people through suicide, binge eating, and abuse, physical, like all the craziest shit you can imagine. I've supported people through. And it's been so beautiful to be in this place of selfless service and allow something higher than myself to come through, and allow myself to be a channel with the skill sets, with the ability to communicate, the ability to influence, the ability to lead. And so eventually got, a part of his leadership team and all of that. And it's definitely a big part of my story, and it's a beautiful place for people to transform. And so, I'm not like selling it in any way. It was a part of my journey, and I've decided to learn those coaching abilities. And I mean, you can go online and take a $7 coaching certification, right? Or you can be immersed in the environment and go there and learn and practice and study and practice and study and practice. And the best way to learn a language is what? It's to move to the country. If you want to learn Italian, move to Italy. Want to learn Spanish, move to Spain, move to Mexico. So it was really like, that was my form of learning, because in high school it wasn't for me. These small little snippets of English class and then jumping to this, it was too much for me. I needed to be immersed in one thing, and that's immersion learning. So that's very much built the man that I am today. And of course I want to add here, use your discernment, right? One thing, if I could go back to tell myself, is that other people's truth, take that, receive it, sit with it, use your discernment, your intuition, run it through your own filters. Like, does this feel true to me? And then integrate it and apply it. If it doesn't feel true to you, don't just do it because someone else is doing it. So, the shadow side that I spoke of earlier was that we had a health day on day 4 of this event. It was like, okay, pescatarian. They were really pushing pescatarianism. And so I went kind of vegetarian, pescatarian, which is eating fish along with vegetarian. And I ended up testing, my mercury later on, because I heard that, tuna carries a lot of mercury. And so, a shadow side of me not trusting myself was like me getting mercury poisoning. So I went to test my blood. It was 9 times the amount of mercury. And that's just in your blood. That's just in your circulating blood supply. Imagine the mercury that you have in different organs, different areas of your body, because that was just testing my blood. And so, yeah, I developed all sorts of kind of issues with the mercury there. So I had to undo that. So it gave me a lot of upside, but there was also a downside to me not trusting my own truth and just kind of accepting, surrendering, and believing someone else's. So I wanted to add that into anyone that's learning from a coach or a guru. Like, if it feels true and it gives you the chills, truth for me is like, whew, like that feels true. I get the chills in my spine and my body. That's kind of my gauge of truth or aliveness. So just run it through your own filters. But that's the story of how I kind of went into that world and built the man that I am today. Not just jumped on a one-day online course.
One-day online free masterclass.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it, man. That's powerful. And I want to touch on a lot of different aspects of that because I can relate. Being in a network marketing company, there was a lot of conferences. And for the people who have never been to any kind of conference, it could be quite foreign to invest in yourself to go to a weekend event and immerse yourself into that kind of environment. But that's beautiful. I definitely honor you for doing those bold, big-time decisions and really investing everything that you had into them, because not many people do that for sure. And high-ticket coaching packages too, like those are about the high end, I would say. I know that they can masterminds can go up to $50,000 a month, but in fact, he has one of those, like a black
it's platinum partnership.
Mm-hmm.
It's $100,000 a year or something like this.
Yeah, so there's a correlation between people who really succeed and the people who invest in themselves and those kind of things. I would say that, I was 18 years old when I got around this network marketing company. And there were some great things that I got from it and some shadow sides that came from it too. But someone offered to pay for me, removing the money excuse. And really all money excuses are is just a priority. It's just you don't see value in it. You don't see a priority because whatever someone really believes in and really values, they will find a way. There's always a way to do something. But that's why sometimes, though, to get into that world, a lot of times it does come in the form of a gift from someone else who's already a believer, who is already seeing, and that fulfillment, like you're saying, from giving.
Yeah.
So somebody invested into me, bought my flight, bought my ticket, went to Washington, D.C. Our conferences were out there, and I became hooked. I loved drinking the Kool-Aid, the culture. I loved changing the way I spoke. I love learning about leadership and very powerful things. I did eventually go to Tony Robbins' UPW in Dallas.
Nice.
I didn't get the full experience. I went with my mom. Instead of going to like a concert or some kind of vacation, her and we bonded and we went to Tony Robbins. She was tired a lot of the times, and I guess I just went with her and I just accompanied her. So we got like half of the experience. Sure. So Tony Robbins, though, is one of the legends in the space that has been doing it for so long. Decades and decades. If you see his old footage, it's just, you can see how it dates.
Yeah.
And he would learn from this guy named Jim Rohn.
Yeah.
Who I absolutely loved. I loved his wisdom. It takes a village to raise somebody. And for sure, you're not getting everything that you need to learn to grow up from just your dad or from just your community around.
What do you mean?
You need a powerful tribe of mentors to stand on. Adopting that growth mindset is huge. And going to the conferences is how you get a huge paradigm shift. I could only imagine what you've experienced because those are high-end programs like Date with Destiny.
Yeah.
He would do them in luxury places too, like West Palm Beach or something like that. Or
West Palm Beach.
He would do them in Maui and all kinds of things. And
Gold Coast, that's where I did mine, in Australia. So beautiful, near the beach.
I've invested quite a bit in myself too. I should probably figure out and quantify it. And I'm getting ready to invest in somebody's coaching program because I do want to be an effective life transformation coach. And then I do want to be effective in the marketing as well because I want to be able to effectively convey the messages.
Yeah.
And that's all marketing really is like, are you familiar with Alex Hormozy?
Yeah, very.
He's such a brilliant mind in that space. Before him, Gary Vee was the main authority when it came to that. Got the same guy to do it. The person that helped Gary Vaynerchuk, there's been few.
Yeah.
It was D-Rock and then Tyler Babin now.
Right.
Tyler Babin now works for Hormozy. And
oh, he does?
yeah.
Okay.
So that's why he's behind a lot of the growth of the channel. But Hormozy is a brilliant mind, of course. So I want to develop myself into being that as well to contribute in an effective way. But I'm seeing that these programs for me to step into are going to be 5, 10, 15 grand. And I know it's already worth it. I'm saving up for it. And then eventually, too, I want to save up for Fit for Service.
Yeah, with Aubrey. Yeah.
Aubrey's got a great community going on.
Yeah.
For just, I guess you have to pay to play.
I was just going to say that.
You have there's nothing wrong with creating a community that you need resources to provide an experience. And it's kind of like a game. If you think of this as like a video game, you want to figure out what you need to figure out to be able to not be broke.
Yeah.
Then you want to start getting into abundance and setting yourself up. And then you want to start getting into higher levels of abundance where, yeah, I can invest 11 grand into this Fit for Service program. It's just different barriers of entry. Kind of the obstacle is the way. The price tag is what you need to figure out to at least be on the same monopoly board as everybody else.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm currently working on as well. I'm working on the next moves, the next programs to get me that knowledge that's missing to hit the next level. Because eventually that game doesn't stop until you get to the $50,000 a month masterminds. Because the next level after that is you're the one who's making 7, 8 figures doing the masterminds. And then, then you got Warren Buffett, Elon Musk levels. So the game doesn't really stop. And it's just a fun game to play and for you to know yourself in relation to that machine. Because it's logical. We just make it complicated. I have a lot to learn from myself. One of the transformations I had in the last few years is my ability to focus and get things done. Productivity.
It's a rare skill in this world now.
It's a rare skill.
So many distractions and.
Oh. How has that been for you? How is with you've invested over $50,000 maybe in counting?
Yeah, I mean in private coaches and programs and Tony, Dr. Joe, like what's the best investment? It's freaking us, man. I'm going to be with myself for life. So carry on.
And there's no better feeling too than knowing that I can go into any sales arena and even for your own business too. That's the next level for myself is my own business or partnering with an existing business. Like you said, I don't have to be the Lone Ranger, the person at the top. I can be part of a team. In fact, that synergy is actually what's probably why these startups create something so amazing. The startup culture of bringing brilliant minds together. Yeah,
the mastermind. Collective minds create something higher. It's like a podcast interview. It's like when you're going one-to-one, there's one soul, one heart, one body here, one soul, one heart, one body there, and we're creating something higher together that comes through. And that's why I don't do podcasts alone, because I can do them, but it's not the same as bouncing and mirroring energies off one another. Because as I look into his eyes and share his story, I get reflections and information that I'd like to share, and vice versa. And that's what a mastermind is. Collective souls, collective people come together. You create something greater that may not have been possible if there wasn't that network created.
There's an interesting dynamic too with masterminds. Have you found that you can't have too many head chefs in the kitchen, or not everybody can be the quarterback? Like in leadership, how is it like maybe in past teams you've led or being led by some great leaders?
Yeah. I mean, how I got introduced to really properly organized masterminds was a man named Gil Petersill. and he actually ran the Russian kind of marketing and kind of he led kind of Tony Robbins' UPW and live events over in Russia, and I met him in Bali.
Wow.
Gilpetersil. Shout out to Gil. And I went to some of his masterminds, and he was big leadership energy, just him. He's running the show, and I think that's very important, because when egos come to play and people are trying to compete and be alpha, like it's kind of a weird energy. So in regards to masterminds, I love like one game maker, one leader holding the space, and he was very strict on time. Like, hey, set the timer. 7 minutes. This person is speaking. As soon as it's done, it's done. Like, he was very structured, because within the structure of a mastermind, that's where something beautiful can grow. Like, it's like a garden. If you create the foundations and the structure, then something can grow very high and in different directions and so on. So yeah, definitely organized masterminds are huge.
I'm curious too, speaking of Robbins and Christian LeBlanc, you have these geniuses, these talents, who surround themselves with maybe even more geniuses in certain specific areas.
Yeah.
Robbins has such a machine.
Totally. Well-oiled money-making machine, yeah.
Life-changing money-making machine. That one, who knows what their revenues are, but...
I mean, he owns like 111 companies.
He, I think, has a huge resort in Fiji.
Yeah.
Like,
house in, yeah.
He's big time. Because there's always so many levels to the game.
Bigger the light, bigger the shadow. But yeah, go on.
Bigger the light, bigger the shadow. What do you mean by that? That's interesting.
So, yeah, I mean, Tony has a big light, right? I don't know if I feel so comfortable diving fully in, but the more, like, there's obviously, Tony's a beautiful man. I've felt his energy in person. I'm not saying more so with Tony, but when you grow an organization that big, there's bound to be some egos at play. There's bound to be some parasitic, I want, narcissistic energy, just like in relationships or friendships. There's always that one person who's like going there just to take. So there's some, like, I actually don't feel comfortable sharing all of that, but with anything that you do, there's just know that you see a lot of light. Just know that there's also the other side of things. It's like social media, right? Most people showcase their best on social media. And that's just the truth.
Exactly what you mean. The bigger the light, bigger the shadow, because there's probably with anything. You look at Jesus and look at the shadow that created, but look at the light. And they could say, I tried that Christianity, or I tried that Tony Robbins thing, and I lost my house.
Yeah.
I lost my teeth. I lost my arm. I hate that thing. So, like, of course, there's always going to be, you don't ever follow one man or one thing. You follow the principle behind it.
Yeah.
And I get what you mean when it comes to large organizations. You just look at the heart and the root of things, and know that humans have error, make mistakes.
Yeah.
Like you said, there's going to be so many Games of Thrones within tribes and communities.
Yeah.
And I'm curious too, just wondering the dynamic too, being led by such great leaders, such great teams. Have you led a team? Have you how's it like leading yourself, being part of a team? Like, what kind of flow is that?
Yeah, I think what you touched on there is super key, because on one level, on an individual level, is we're always coaching ourselves. We wake up, and for example, we had a workout today, a men's workout. You wake up, it's like the inner critic. Everyone has an inner critic that's telling them, what they're doing wrong, or what they shouldn't do, or an inner bitch, whatever you want to call it, whatever is empowering to you. I don't call it an inner bitch, but there's always that voice. It's like lower self, higher self. It's like, I know what I need to do. This is what I shouldn't do. Which one am I going to choose? Like, let's just simplify it, right? It's always there.
Well said.
And so becoming a coach isn't even about coaching other people. I had to become my own coach first. Like, I had to coach myself out of, not going out that time and when I'm young and drinking, or not eating that food at 9 p.m. because I know it's going to affect my deep sleep. All of these things, you have to become your own coach. You have to become your own fan, your own supporter. It always has to start with us. And then, and only then, in my opinion, that we can share that with other people. Because it's about embodying and integrating. Like, whoever we want to be, we have to embody and integrate this. What do I mean by that? I'm not going to tell you, bro, drink spring water, get Shilajit, and I go home and crush McDonald's and tap water. It's like, that's not an integrity, that's not truth. And so you have to become your own coach, and you have to have your ability to coach yourself in every moment. For myself, it's like ice baths and cold plunges, or going on a run, or doing a workout. Like, you have to have the ability to influence yourself, because then you can't influence others. So it starts there. And then once you get there, you can start to influence other people, because you're an embodiment of it, and you've integrated it into your being. And so, you know, from going to individual sales, I had the ability to manage my emotional intelligence. Right? When I got 10 no's in a row, what do I do then? One day I was on no sales by like 2:00. I'm like, what I worked fucking 4 hours, 5 hours. I got no money. What's going on? But again, I wasn't excited. My energy was low. What did I do? I went outside. I napped in the sun, on the grass. I grounded, came back, made $1,100 in 3 hours. You know, so it's like coaching yourself and having that emotional awareness. And in a team setting, once I was able to do that myself, I could communicate that with others. That's a whole other field, is managing other humans. So in Australia, after that, the individual kind of sales mastery, I'm like, hey, I want to master helping others do the same. So I had my own office in Western Australia, in Perth. And, you know, I had teams of 15, 20 people, hiring, the firing, the legal, the training, the everything. And it's truly a skill. That's a skill I can't really dive in at this moment, but leading other teams, you have to be the leader. You have to be the embodiment. You have to focus on yourself and fill your cup first, or else you just show up and you're like, oh my God, I can't, I have nothing to give. So it's an art, it's a mastery in leading others. But working in high performance teams, seeing how quick they are, seeing how like focused they are, seeing how the people pleaser isn't there anymore.
I love that. Working with teams is so important. It mirrors a lot of things in life. For example, people want to be leaders, but they haven't mastered themselves, like you were saying. But even before that, they haven't even learned how to follow. And that's something very important. You look at martial arts, like in jiu-jitsu, following the belt above you, preferably the black belt or the instructor of the school.
Yeah.
And there's always so many different levels too. I remember Robin shared a really cool story of wanting to learn polo. And he says that you always like get half of what they can offer. So if they're a 10, you'll probably get half of what they got, so that's a 5. Or if you find a 6 out of 10, 10 being the best, you're only going to get half of what they have, which is a 3. So you're going to really try to find the best, because they can only pass on so much at a certain time. I found this life coach. His name's Gus. Love Gus. Still one of my best buddies.
Gus?
Fergus McClure.
Fergus McClure, what a name.
But he goes by Gus.
He goes by Gus.
And he's another world traveler, nomadic. He's currently in Colombia right now. Been traveling for a long time. He's been out of the matrix for a while. And he's helped me do the same. When I first met him, I said, I just feel like a financial failure. I'm out here traveling, but my bank account's dwindling, so I just don't really feel like I have it fully together. Yeah. So he taught me how to do a lot of good life basics.
Right.
Still learning a lot from him. He's brilliant at the transformation and creating the product and conveying the message, but he's not as good as the marketing. He has such a huge wall, like I did back in the day, towards the marketing and the advertising and the social brand and getting on the digital platform and referrals and things like that. So him and I are both in the same boat, where we're feeding off each other, working on breaking barriers towards the marketing part. So we're doing a free group coaching session every Tuesday.
Cool.
And we're always looking at things that we can improve on and get better at with. But I definitely feel like, okay, this is what free has gotten us. I know that I'm ready to find someone who's got 10 times the results to teach me to get the same. Yeah. Because it depends on what speed you want to travel at. It depends on how fast you want to get from point A to point B. Of course, while enjoying the journey as you go. Yes. But that's where him and I are working, and I found that we're both quarterbacks, and the ball does not move forward unless you personally moved the ball forward. Right. And I've employed one or two of my family members, which are the most affordable. Thank you, Vanessa. Most affordable and great at helping you, do some of the edits and do some of the things. Yeah. Because the entrepreneur casts the vision, they have the desire, and then you want to surround yourself with a team that can help you implement it. Have you read this book, The E-Myth?
No.
Love that book. Broke it down to, you have the entrepreneur, your managers, and then your technicians.
Yeah, Tony pulled something from that. He calls it entrepreneurs, artist, manager, leader. The 3 archetypes of business.
That probably goes more into depth with it too. And I found that I have to be a better technician, better manager, better entrepreneur. And ultimately, I found somebody who has given so much value that he found volunteers to be the employees and managers. Volunteers, which can only go so far, because eventually you do want to pay for top talent.
Of course.
And you're one of those top talents. Tell me a little bit about the process of working for LeBlanc. I know you guys are getting ready for a high ticket program. That's something I'm fascinated by and curious, and maybe even eventually buy his program or something. But
yeah,
what's your role in that?
Yeah, so I think coaching, leadership, sales, it's all similar. It's the same thing. Sales is really, my definition of sales is your ability to influence someone in making a decision that's going to improve their life. That's really what it is. I'll never sell to anyone when I don't think it's going to change their life for the better, or it's worth the investment. So it comes back to obviously the product that you're selling. So yeah, with Christian LeBlanc, so we met a couple times. I went and volunteered for him. I told you the story earlier, but long story short, he had a couple opportunities come up. I drove 12 hours straight to go do one of these opportunities to just kind of get in the room and introduce myself and just provide value, not be like weird or like takey, just like go there, provide value, be a good vibe, and go home and not expect anything. So that was my first time meeting Christian. And then it kind of lined up, and the second time he was doing something in Tulum, like I shared with you earlier. And it was kind of the same thing. He was doing a YouTube series called Beyond Lost. So it's like Amazing Race, if you know what that is, but like it's like racing around the world. You get hints and stuff, and you race and you try and beat the other teams. So he was doing this, but he was doing this kind of with influencers and YouTubers and just in pairs of twos. And so we were out in Western Canada in Calgary. Super cold, like minus 30, minus 40 Celsius. I don't know Fahrenheit for that, and so we did that, and then I found out 3 weeks later he was going to be in Tulum. So I'm like, bro, I'm in Tulum at the same time as you. Like, I'll help you out again. So yeah, I just got to know him, and again, it's just about providing value without expectation. It's very simple. That's the key to networking. Is not saying, hey man, I'll do anything for you. I'll work for free. And it's like you need to be specific in what you have to offer, even if it's that's just getting someone a coconut on the beach. It's like, hey, are you thirsty? Because they'll remember you. They'll remember you by name. It's like, oh, you were that guy that brought me a coconut one time. If someone brought me, right now I don't really need anything, but if someone brought me like a coconut or something, I'd be like, wow, thank you, and I would remember that person. So that's a strong key to networking, and I want to share this because I think it's important for a lot of people. And if you want to get in the room and start masterminding, it's not about being like super needy and like pushing someone away. It's like, hey, I know my skill set, I know what I have to offer, and this is what I have to offer, and not being needy. So yeah, we met in Tulum again, no expectation, just wanted to support and provide value. And then he had a couple jobs coming up and posted on Instagram, and I applied to one, declined. Applied to two, declined. Third time's lucky. I applied to his closing team, so his sales team, and I knew that was my super skill, and I knew that's what I had to offer. I knew I provided him value. I knew that I could truly transform his sales team. I knew my closing rate was high, and I believed in his product. I believed in his mission and all of that. So I reached out on Instagram. I said, bro, I am your guy for this. I am the best. I have 88% closing rate. Just like give me a shot, get me in. I'll show you. And he's like, all right, man, I'll set you up. So he set me up with an initial interview with his first round interview with his team. And again, I was prepared. Luck for me is preparation and an opportunity combining. So preparing yourself. You don't know what you're preparing yourself for. What am I in the gym for? I'm training. But for what? For an opportunity for you to showcase yourself, your energy, your skill set, your passion, your love, your inspiration. And so got on the first interview. Amazing interview. Perfect. Did it great. Prepared myself for it. Went to the gym, did some breathing. Boom, showed up. I was on it. Second stage interview. Met with Christian. And it was he literally just threw it on me, because sales is a lot about adjusting on your feet. You have to be quick, right? You can't just be like, because then you lose the deal. And in moments of hesitation, a deal can be lost, thousands of dollars. So you have to be quick. And so did the second stage interview. It was a 17-minute interview. I have a tendency of getting hired very quickly. It's a pattern that I'm noticing. And because it's all about energy and then the skill set to back it up. And so showed up on the call. He gave me like the top 6-7 objections in sales. Boom, 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 boom. Asked me about my history, my story. I knew it. I said it with confidence and clarity. He's like, honestly, man, I'm impressed. He's like, I'm excited to see what we can do together. Like, let's go. Nice. And to add context, there were 400 and roughly 400 plus applicants to this role. 400 people applied for this. 2 got hired. And am I saying this to make myself sound good? No, it's saying this to realize that you can tap into being. The difference between someone who's great and outstanding is not so big. It's just a few subtle differences. A few differences in energy, a few differences in communication, in how you show up, how you dress. It's just a little bit. It's just a few centimeters between elite and just outstanding or good, you know? So yeah, man, that's how the journey started. We're in a launch phase now. Really excited. We have a really solid team going and a really beautiful product that I'm honestly honored to sell and be a part of. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
That's amazing. Yeah, so many nuggets in there, and the beginning of giving value without expectation definitely came from your abundance and your patience.
By the way, at this time I was super broke.
So you needed an opportunity, or you wanted one.
But of course I know I was going there to serve. But of course I know that if I get in the room with the right people, there could be an opportunity down the line. I didn't know I'd get a job like this, you know, but I was broke at the time. But I just knew I needed to change my approach. Because if something's not working, you got to change your approach. You got to move. You got to take different action. So I was just exploring all avenues. Of course, my intention is, I'm going to meet him and perhaps an opportunity might come up, you know, but really it's just building relationships without expectation, but a positive anticipation that it will lead somewhere.
That's awesome. That's brilliant. I would say that Christian LeBlanc has an incredible brand. I've been following him for years too. After I read Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Workweek, I don't know how I started learning about Bali, but he was all over it. He had a brilliant guide on step by step from out of the airport into like places like Canggu, which maybe we could talk a little bit about Bali because it's such a special place, and that's his headquarters. And I've been following closely his new Lost Villa, which is so cool. He's playing this game at such an awesome, cool level.
He's top. I don't think there's anyone doing anything else like him. And his academy is just exceptional. It's really exceptionally done. Covers the creative side of videography, photography, editing. It covers the business side. So there's a lot of starving artists, you know, like Garen Jones says, but we don't need to be starving artists. You can master the artistry and the creative side, and then you can also match that with business and systems and structures, you know, and what it really is to be successful is psychology. Like success comes down to psychology, your mindset. Like I said, I was making a lot of money, 10 plus grand, you know, per month and all of that, but my mindset was broke. So, you know, the strategies are important, but we really need to focus on shifting our psychology. The way we think, the way we feel, and the actions that we take ultimately determines the destiny and the course of our lives. So
that's big time, mastering the psychology, because the way my mentor teaches it is becoming secured foundationally with your finances. You want to feel at a good place with that, because if you're always in scarcity, you're always going to nothing's ever going to be enough. Nothing's ever going to be enough if you don't figure that game out. If you're not secured in your living environment, if you're in a toxic wasteland, your success may just be moving across the street, moving somewhere else, getting out of that toxic family, toxic environment, toxic relationship. You want to secure that foundation. That's the most important step, because it will ruin any of the dreams that you have if you don't have any of those secured. Then getting clear on what exactly you want, being inspired. That's the next layer. Then it's figuring out what action steps, what's your map, how detailed is that? A lot of problems can be solved with just those first 3 layers. Because ultimately where you want to get to is where you're having fun and you're playing and you're in a state of flow where you don't really need to eat, drink, or even think. It just happens naturally because you're in such alignment.
Yeah.
He has a beautiful saying too. He calls it where you're effortlessly producing fruitful results.
Totally, man. It's finding that flow state. And I heard a quote the other day, and it really touched me. You know, I've heard lots of quotes, but some really get to you. And I might not say this correctly, but over having an intention, like an over intention for something, is pushing. So it's like really like wanting something to happen and forcing. That's pushing something. And over surrendering, like, oh, the universe has got me. You know, I've lived in spiritual communities around the world, especially Bali, especially Ubud during COVID. And people are like, the universe has got me. It's like you have to take action to create. It's like one of the basic laws of the world, and action creates a reaction, you know, a response. And so whether that's giving, when you give, you'll receive, you know, just like I gave to you know, Christian, and doing that for him, I was able to receive. I didn't know. It was 2 years later, 3 years later. And yeah, so it's really like not being overly surrendering, because that's giving up. That's like, oh, the universe has got me. Yes, God, the universe has got you, but you got to move. You got to take action to move energy, right? And that's how we create things in our life. We got to take action. We can't just meditate all the time.
Robbins has the best quote on that too. There's the art of fulfillment and the science of achievement.
Yeah.
And both of those is what we've been talking this podcast on. So what's next for you, man? I know you're going to Dubai.
Yeah.
Flights booked or?
No,
how's that journey look like?
I usually book like a month out. So I'm headed to Dubai in October. So I'm going to go meet a brother out there. The brotherhood for me is very strong right now, because I've really not closed off, but I've really trimmed my inner circle. And I'm going with a really dear brother out there. His name is Angel, so you know it's quite aligned.
I want to see an angel.
He's legit, and he's just a cool dude. You know, there's a few people in your life that you meet, and they're just proper glitches in this world. Proper people that just they just take action, and they create things in their life, and you're like, how the heck are you moving so quickly? Like, I don't understand that. And so he's one of those guys, really dear brother of mine. So we're gonna go out there and do some business. And again, the intention is to network, to get into the right rooms. And I know what I have to offer now, especially to millionaires that are out of shape. You know, I know I'm a very good health coach. I can help, you know, millionaires and billionaires with the foundations of their health. And it doesn't take long, right? It's quick. So that's one of the offerings that I'm going into Dubai in the back of my mind. And at the same time is you know, high ticket closing, selling, negotiation, real estate. So it's kind of, those are my two core intentions going into Dubai, is just connecting, meeting the right people. And because the thing about Dubai is that it's one of the fastest growing countries in the world, right? Or cities or regions, if you want to call it that. And if you think about Dubai, they just started building 80s, 90s. Like if you see how quickly it went up, and money loves speed, right? Business loves speed. And so Dubai is moving so fast, and I move incredibly fast, faster than most people can understand until it's in the physical. But I move so fast, and I feel like my energy right now is very synchronized with Dubai. And so I'm going to go there, just start with 3 months and see what comes out of it. But really excited for that, because it's been coming up a lot, you know, and it's, again, one of those breadcrumbs of excitement from the universe that I'm just listening to. And I love to live seasonally, brother. I love to live, I don't like winters. I was raised in Winnipeg, top 5 coldest cities in the world, minus 50 Celsius, minus 40 Celsius, temperatures of that nature. It's crazy. So I love I love having a base in Canada. I love having a base on an island or in the tropics. And then I also like just somewhere random like Austin. So it's not random. I was led here, but it's been a beautiful ride, man.
Yeah. LeBlanc's made Dubai look amazing. He took his family out there, and that was
his dad,
pretty cool video to watch.
Yeah.
He even made a few others. I don't know exactly where, but the Middle East looks pretty good, because he's done some pretty cool videos. He doesn't want to have picturesque hot air balloons and
the
camels
Turkey, I think that is.
Things like that.
Yeah.
I do want to go see Petra and Jordan. Definitely want to
Jordan's
thoroughly
cool.
see
People
Egypt.
There. Egypt? Okay, tell me more.
Want to. I know Aubrey went and had some pretty crazy stories out there. It's like all of our souls and ancestors have been through Egypt. And when he said that, I was like, whoa, that's heavy. That's probably true.
It's also illegal to meditate there, I think.
Really?
Yeah, in I don't know. I heard this from Matthias De Stefano. Like he went there with Aubrey. But I know it's definitely illegal to meditate like in or around the pyramids.
Wow.
But Matthias De Stefano, he's cool, man. He's a really cool guy. He took a group of, they did something so funny. I forget exactly what they did, but they found a way to like go in the pyramids and they were meditating together and doing like sacred sounds, and and different chants and, activating different energies and things of that nature. This might be a bit deep, but I know that they went inside the pyramid in a group of, I think there was, I forget how much, I want to say like 1,111 people or something. They went in like this big group there, and they did some like crazy activations. So
yeah, I remember.
Can you imagine that?
Too, yeah.
Bro, I'm a mystic. I feel like I'm a mystic in my early stage, but I really want to go to Egypt, and I want to experience awe in my life. And that was one thing from the Tony Robbins spaces. It's another story, but just like I want to experience like, wow, like I want to be blown away from my belief system. Like I think there's definitely a balance between having agreements and values and beliefs, but being open to change. Because I was raised in such a solid belief system foundation with my family, Winnipeg, schooling. This is what you need to do. It's very rigid, but needs to be a flexibility and an ability to adapt. And I think Egypt would open up a lot for anyone, right? If they go with that.
Especially with the right mindset too. I'm a big fan of, and we don't have to go too deep into these topics because I know we only have a few minutes left, but I love talking about what Graham Hancock writes about. Are you familiar with that name?
No.
Look him up on Joe Rogan. He has this new series called, I actually don't remember the name on Netflix, okay. But it's things like going to the world's most sacred structures and, seeing that they're 10, 20, 30,000 years old. Gunung Padang in Indonesia, somewhere around there. It's like 16,000.
I think I've seen one of these. Yeah.
The Sphinx is supposedly at least 15,000, but sometimes even 35,000, depending on which constellations and who's, the authority on that. But knowing that this is such an ancient world, and he says his famous line is, "We're species with amnesia."
Totally. We've forgotten what we've forgotten. It's like double stage amnesia.
Yes. And apparently with supervolcanoes and meteors and, ice ages, we've reset civilization like 10 times, at least in the last 100,000 years. Like every 10,000 years, we have reset, gone near extinct, and rebuilt civilization. And most of the civilizations are underwater because the sea level was at a different, you have Atlantis stories and things like that. And those fascinate me because we get so caught up on our weekends, day to day, week to week, or even our own lifetime. And we forget about the thousands of years, thousands of generations that came before us. And Egypt unlocks that kind of thinking. Turkey with Göbekli Tepe unlocks that kind of thinking. And those are the ones that just fascinate me. Like you said, the awe moments.
Yeah. It's crazy that it takes, I think it's 4 or 5 generations to completely shift. And so one of my missions on Earth now is not allowing that to happen. And there's a lot of people waking up more than ever at this moment. And one thing I'm very passionate about is very like conscious parenting, and I do relate a lot with what Jordan Peterson says of like with your kid, you need to just allow them to do dangerous shit safely. Yeah. Right? And so, like it's not that it can be simple. Like, how do you wish you were raised? What do we want as kids? We want freedom, we want love, we want support, we want to do what we want when we want. We want to be, and this is the thing with like, we need to discern as children what's right and what's wrong. So the most transformative time in my life, I won't go into the whole story, but I smoked a lot of weed when I was younger, to the point where it's not like intentional use. It's like smoking all the time because I was going through suffering as a teenager and I was quite lost. And my parents were like, "You need to stop smoking," and they were "You're gonna be blah blah blah," and I would just rebel. I'd be like, no, I'm gonna keep doing it. And it wasn't until the point till my mom was like, "You know what, Alex, do what you want. This is what could happen if you quit this, addiction." She saw it as an addiction, but quit this habit. If you quit this habit, this is what your life could look like. And if you keep smoking, this is what your life could look like. Your choice. I quit the next day. I quit the next fucking day. Because my mom provided me with the vision of what could happen and then the freedom of choosing. And I think as a parent, that's one big thing that I'm gonna do with my kids is, hey, hey buddy. I don't know what I'm gonna name my kid. I'm gonna call him Buddy. This is what will happen if you do this. This is what will happen if you do that. And not having them sitting in desks surrounded by Wi-Fi, surrounded by bright lights and all this shit they don't want to be doing. I want my kids to follow their excitement, follow their passion. It's like the movie Soul. Have you seen it?
Yes.
Beautiful, right? They have that university, I'll call it university, where it's everything you can imagine possibly doing is there. You want to be a pilot, you want to be a chef, you want to make pizza, you want to ride a unicycle, be in the circus. Anything you can imagine doing as a kid. I want to provide that kid for my life. The world is fucking yours, man. Do whatever you want. What does excite you? Art? I'm not an artistic person. That's my current identity. I believe, yes, I have art, but like my ability to draw is not there yet. My skill set for drawing. And I truly believe that's because I was so like artistically suppressed as a kid. And I think we're all natural artists, you know, like Garen says. And so I just want my kid to be a free soul. And I think the more free souls, the more conscious families that we raise, is the better we're going to be later on. And so that's why I want to have a family of 10. Who knows if it'll happen? At least 3. I like the number 3. But that's my ultimate, not my ultimate mission to be a father. I know there's something higher than that. And there's a warrior that's being activated in an initiation that I'm currently going through. And I think a lot of men are rising, and so are the women. And we'll be looking back on this interview, man, and really be like,
yep,
wow.
Hey, we were talking about you in this interview.
Yeah, buddy.
I love what you said, man. Allowing your kids to do dangerous shit
safely. Yeah.
I heard, and I don't know who said this, but apparently when you get to the Ivy League's admissions board, they're looking at, perfect scores, yes, perfect grades, perfect scores, another this and that. What they're really looking for is, what kind of life experiences have you had that are serious and major? Like, they're actually looking for people who are sailors, riding horses, like honestly doing dangerous shit. Because you can't actually know somebody until they've been tested.
Totally.
And if you're still alive, congratulations. Because that's an accomplishment.
Yeah.
But is it really if you've just played it safe your whole life? Are you living? And that's like why I've gotten really into rock climbing. I'm going to be getting scuba certified.
Nice. I'm advanced as well.
You are?
Yeah, and freediving advanced.
Nice. Yeah, that's the way to go. Just doing dangerous things, because it puts you in the moment. You have to be totally present. You have to be learning these life skills that really teach you what life is about, because accidents happen when you don't pay attention. And you don't pay attention when your mind is fragmented, disconnected.
Yeah.
And it can teach you how to ground, and dangerous things can teach you how to ground yourself and live mindfully, because you can mitigate the risk and you can learn so much with that.
It's like freediving. Last thing I'll say is freediving is one of the best things I've ever done for focus, because you make one error, there's 1 ounce of you that's not present in freediving. And for anyone who doesn't know what freediving is, it's diving without a tank, nothing. It's just a mask and yourself. And I've gone to 30 meters, so about, I think, around times 3 or so. So I think that's the right meters into feet. I think it's about times 3 or so. So about crazy mountains, like 90, 100 feet I've gone diving without any oxygen. And there's a level of meditation, there's a level of presence with your body and awareness and connection to your body that you need to have to not fuck up. If you panic at 30 meters, if you do something wrong, you'll die, right? It won't be good. And so I remember going through my advanced freediver training, everything's slowed down, and being in the water, everything slows down. And there's a specific breathing technique that you do before freediving. It's essentially just breathing in your mouth like a straw and breathing out super slow. 3 times, not more than that, or it's not good. So in moderation, relaxing all your muscles. And it's taught me in any moment I can drop into a deep state of like alpha brain waves, really relaxing body. I can lower my heart rate to 34 or 33 just by being in the water and by breathing like that. My heart rate can go down, and that's a key when you freedive. And this is another story, but lowering your heart rate. It happens when you have cold water exposure. It happens when you hold your breath for a long time. There's something called the mammalian dive reflex, which activates our natural ability to hold our breath underwater. So I can hold my breath. I haven't trained at all, but I can hold my breath for 4 minutes on the inhale. And anyway, freediving taught me to be so mindful. So consider freediving, and scary shit will change your life. Skydiving was one of the biggest things for me.
It's on my list.
Brother,
where'd you skydive?
Changed my life. Australia, 15,000 feet, landed on a beach.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That's actually my thing. I'm about to be 30 February 26th next year. And that was my thing to skydive before. Procrastinator, I'm going to get it done before then, but
You're not a procrastinator.
I should have done it last year. Should have done it before I shut on myself.
Good. Don't identify with being a procrastinator though.
That's true. Alex, where can people find you? What are some things?
Hit me up on IG, Alex_Normandin. TikTok is also a vibe, Alex.Normandin. Yeah, really, IG's the spot.
Man, it's been a pleasure.
Cool.